Hello again. This is where factoring really starts to get fun, where we start to factor trinomials. And basically a trinomial is three different terms. It has to have three terms in order for it to be a trinomial. All four of my examples are trinomials. And this one's a different type of factoring. It's got to be x squared and then plus blah 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 x plus blah. So it's x squared plus something x plus a number. And all four of those have that. Now somebody's going to say, well, that's subtracting number. That's the same thing, plus or minus a number. Big deal. But when any time you're factoring trinomials with just an x squared, not a number in front of the x squared, but just an x squared, these are some helpful tips to take care of. And the way I usually teach it in my class, well, I used to teach it a little differently. I used to reference professional wrestling, and I used to call it the game. If you're familiar with professional wrestling, you know who I'm talking about because I would make specific letter tables. I don't really do that anymore. I don't have the sprightly stuff that I used to. But you know, it was usually applauded by most people. I used to take my spray bottle and spray in the air, and it was good for a laugh. Then we got down to business, and it was okay. But it was a good way to hook people into the lesson. I'm not going to do that here because, I'm not going to do that on YouTube. It'd be embarrassing. We're not going to do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to factor all four of these trinomials. And how we factor them is we factor them into two binomials. And what I mean by two binomials is two terms in a parenthesis. But we're going to have two sets of parentheses and two terms in each one. And at first students are a little wary, but they see like, oh, okay, this ain't bad. Like, it's not bad yet, but it gets a little bit more difficult. And I'll try to show you the best way that I think you can use from beginner math to more advanced math to try to factor quickly. Now the next step is very crucial. It makes life so much easier when it comes to factoring in general. What you do is you look at the signs of the terms. And what you do is you specifically look at the last term. You write it in standard form first of all, and we'll do them with equations. But the first thing you do is you run from highest degree to lowest degree, everything goes on one side. And all of these have that. And you look at the last term. The last term here is positive 6, negative 6, negative 6. Now here's how it works. If the last term is positive, look at the middle term. These don't count because they're both negative. If the last term is positive, look at the middle term. If the middle term is positive and the last term is positive, what you have is, you have two positives. It's really that simple. If the last term is positive and the middle term is negative, then you have two negatives. And that's because what you're doing is you're trying to find a product that multiplies to be positive 6 and adds to be 5. A product that multiplies to be positive 6 but adds to be negative 5. We'll go over that one too. For when the last term is negative, like negative 6, then it's pretty easy. You just have one positive, one negative. You don't even have to look at the middle term. Just look at the last term, assuming that you wrote it in standard form from highest degree to lowest degree. One positive, one negative. Now what we do is very simple. We try to find out what times what equals x squared. X and x. Okay, that's pretty easy. So put this x here and put the other x there. What times what equals x squared? X and x. What times what equals x squared? X squared. X and x. And what times what equals x squared? X and x. And then students say, okay, I'm kind of following along. And I say, I don't care about this because you can always memorize this in 5 seconds. I want you to figure out the signs. The signs are actually more important. They're the most important. Now here's the next part of what we have to do. I have to figure out what times what equals 6. Well, 6 and 1. Good. What else works? 3 and 2. Here's what I do. I have to pick if it's 6 and 1 or 3 and 2. Now, it's got to be a number plus another number that equals 5. 6 plus 1 will equal 7. I want 5, so I'm going to use 3 and 2. Those are the numbers that work. And there you go. Same thing here. What times what equals 6? It's 6 and 1 or 3 and 2. Now here's the caveat to that. This is a negative number plus another negative number that equals negative 5. So is negative 6 plus negative 1 going to equal negative 5? The answer is no, that's negative 7. What's negative 3 plus negative 2? Negative 5. Next one. It's either 6 times 1 or 3 times negative 2. One's a positive number, the other's a negative. So it's going to be something subtracted something that equals 5. 3 subtract 2 equals 1. That doesn't work. 6 subtract 1 equals 5. So it's got to be a positive 5. So is the 6 going to go on the negative or on the positive? And it goes on the positive because it's going to be 6 subtract 1. And that's going to be 5. And then the last one. What number subtracted another number or a number plus another number equals negative 5? Well, okay, 6 subtract 1 is 5. I want negative 5. 1 subtract 6 is negative 5. And there you go. That's how you do it. You just kind of formulate it. Now this is a great lesson to keep in track and do it again and again. I really do implore you to do it again and again. I'm going to erase some of this while you're looking. Now students ask me, are those the answers? And I say, yeah. If you're factoring, you're basically taking 3 terms and turning them into 2 sets of parentheses with 2 terms in them each. That's it. Now there is a way to check it. But before I say check it, I'm going to circle it so you know it's the answer. You take the middle 2 and the outer 2 and you multiply them. So 3 times x is 3x, 2 times x is 2x. What's 3x plus 2x? 5x. Checks out. Take the middle 2, negative 3x, plus, take the outer 2, x times negative 2, is negative 2x. Is negative 3x plus negative 2x negative 5x? Yeah. Take the inner 2, 6 times x, positive 6 times x, 6x, plus the outer 2, x times negative 1, which is negative 1x, 5x. Bam, story checks out. That's all you really have to do to check. That's how I did it when I was younger. 1 times x, 1x, plus x times negative 6, negative 6x, equals negative 5x. But these are the answers. When you factor, those are the answers. If they're expressions, if they're equations, you have to go a step further, which we'll actually do in our next lesson. I'll try one more problem and see if you can do it. You should actually pause it before I go over it to see if you get the same answer that I do. With that said, we're going to have part 2 of this coming up. But for now, have a great day.